So as I say, my name is Valerie Williams. I'm the volunteer coordinator for SATEDA. We're a women's charity, domestic abuse charity, actually based in the southeast of England. And this audio that we're on today covers everybody in Kent. So there's a wide range of people that are here from various areas. So did somebody have a question there? I think someone's mic just came off. That's all right. So SATEDA stands for Support Action to End Domestic Abuse, if you ever wondered what those initials for. Just to give you a little bit of background about it, it was started back in 2009 as Swale Domestic Forum, changed its name in 2014 when it became a charity, and that was Swale Action to End Domestic Abuse. And then it changed in 2018 to Support Action to End Domestic Abuse when it moved out of the Swale area into Medway, which is where I'm based in our office as well. In 2023, it started a new arm of the charity, which is based in Medway, and that is the Sharewear, which is what I'm actually here to tell you about today. But I will tell you a little bit about our charity and the different things that we actually do as well. So SATEDA basically has a range of trauma-informed services. We provide direct access and support and advocacy and advice for women and children who've experienced and are experiencing domestic abuse. And we strive to offer a journey of support which increases choices for women, enabling them to take back control, break free, live a life without fear. And our award-winning employability program also offers survivors of domestic abuse the opportunity to be part of SATEDA as both volunteers and then occasionally as employees, where they can actually use their experiences to help and empower other women as they unlock their voice, worth and brilliance. So some of the services that we offer, so there are a wide range of them. The support services themselves are mainly based in the Swale area, so that's Sittingbourne and Sheerness. And the other services that are offered more Kent-wide are the employability program, which is Sharewear, and also, which I believe is on there yet, and also our support to court, which is also Kent-wide as well. Those are the two that are will be applicable to the people on this call as well. But if you are in the Swale area, some of these items on here we actually offer. So we offer one-to-one support, which it could be first point of contact through our web chat service. It could be in one-stop shops. It could be various other ways where people would actually have advice when they're thinking about leaving a partner or they need guidance in that side of things. We then offer support to court, and this can be anything from when somebody's left a partner and they're seeking legal advice or they're looking to get help on that side. So we've got volunteers and staff that will help us being a Mackenzie friend when people are going to court. It could be help with having statements when they're actually creating statements. It could also be for occupation orders, child protection orders, child molestation orders, all of those particular things. There's a heck of a lot of paperwork that are involved when there's due to a separation, when it's not amicable, and they can help. Now, the support to court team are a small little team. They're actually growing and they're spreading into Maidstone at the moment as well. So we're supporting in that area as well as the Swale area. We've got drop points in Medway, in Sittingbourne, and also now in Faversham, and also in Maidstone, as I mentioned. The criteria for our support to court team is for any women that are either not entitled to legal aid themselves, or if they've got their own lawyer. We're not additional services to a lawyer. We are basically for those people that don't meet either of those criteria. So they don't have their own lawyer, they're not entitled to legal aid. We can then support women and children that are going through domestic abuse, and it's the legal side of things. We don't actually deal with divorce law or anything like that. And if anybody needs our help, we can go to sateda.org and they will be able to help on that side of things. We've also got some counselling as well, where we're offering counselling side of things. So that can be one-to-one support. It can be on Zoom, it can be on face-to-face as well. And that's helping people who just need a little bit of, basically if they've been through trauma and various other things, they just need a little talking to help them support in that side. We've also got some support groups, and there's 3 support groups that we offer, which is the Freedom Programme, Power to Change, and Own My Life. And these are, once a person has left a relationship, they would come to us, and the Freedom Programme is the first one that they could be offered. And it's a 12-week programme that they would then look at the tactics of the abuser and what's actually that they have been through. And quite often this is a light bulb moment for the women that have actually been on the Freedom Programme, where they realise what they've been through isn't actually what they've been doing. It's actually the perpetrator's tactics. It's all based on a programme that was started back in the 70s by Pat Craven, who worked in prisons and realised that all the people were coming the criminals that had actually been charged with domestic abuse, had coming up with the same reasons as to why they were doing this, whether it be king of the castle, head worker, persuader, all different things. So she wrote a book about it called Living with the Dominator, and that's what the Freedom Programme is based on. It's an original programme. Different areas have different programmes. In Medway, they have one called the Phoenix Project. They all have different names, but they're all based on that original book. Freedom Programme is one we actually deliver to the women that we support. And as I say, it's a 12-week program. One that's come to the end and they've gone through the tactics of the behaviour. They then can go on to another 12-week program called the Power to Change. And that looks at the trauma that they've been through, honour-based violence, things like that. And again, it's looking at building their support network in there as well. Then there's another 12-week program they can go on after they've been on that. So a woman could be with us for a whole year getting support from ourselves. The Own My Life then looks at boundaries, setting boundaries, and looking forward to build their lives. So we can look at employability, that side of things as well. And there's a full journey of support that we offer from when they phone us up right the way through, whether it's support to court. Whilst the mums are going through support, sometimes the government's now recognised that children are also affected by domestic abuse. So we also have a young persons program as well called Children in Support. And the main two programs that we've got on offer at the moment, there are some other in the pipeline, but we've got Healing Together, which is looking at sort of 7 to 16-year-olds, and that's looking at the breathing, their support network within their family, within their neighbourhood, within their school. Where would they go to if they need help? Internal control, because youngsters don't always know how to process their emotions or how they're dealing with things, but it can come out in bad behaviour at school or various other things. So that's that Healing Together program just looks at one-to-one with the child. It's normally the mum that would come to the school or to ourselves and say, my little Johnny, as I'm going to use an example, sorry if anybody's got little Johnny out there, but little Johnny needs a little bit of help and support, and we would actually go and do that as well. So one-to-one, that only lasts about 6 weeks or so on there. We've also got the Switch Up program, and the Switch Up program, again, is a 6-week, it's after school event. We've had 2 of these programs run in the last year and the year before, and they've been really successful. And this is normally if a relationship has broken down, there's been domestic abuse, perpetrator has left the property, and what sometimes happens is the child that is left thinks, oh, that parent's left, and therefore that's the behaviour of that parent. I need to be that person now, and this is the behaviours I've learned, and therefore they can have some of the negative behaviours that they've learned against mum on that side of things. So it's looking at rebuilding the relationship together, and that's called the Switch Up program, and that's 2 hours a week where we would invite the parents, we would invite the child into the schools after hours, and there would be 2 groups. There would be a parental group and there would be the children's group. They meet up in one room, have a chat, and then they go off into different rooms with a trained facilitator and normally a volunteer. And it's a way of learning to communicate with each other over that 6-week period and breaking down boundaries again and regaining that parental control. So it's a great way of interacting and letting children being heard, but also being able to rebuild the relationship between normally mother and child, but it can be anything. We've also got the Iris Project. Now, this is something that is nationwide. I believe we're the only ones in Kent doing this. This is run by a lovely Ruth, who is going into doctors' surgeries to let them know about the warning signs of domestic abuse, what to look out for, because although doctors are very good at diagnosing different things and they have their own thing, they may not know what to do if somebody did come with symptoms of domestic abuse and how it can portray into symptoms of coming to a doctor as well. So Ruth will actually go into doctor surgeries to let them know what to look out for, what things people might be saying, and be a line of support. So if they did have anything, they could easily refer into ourselves. And I believe she's actually been into most of the doctor's surgeries in the Swale area now and part of Sittingbourne as well. We're looking to broaden that, but again, it's all based on funding as well. So that's been doing really, really successfully. And we've had a lot of referrals from doctor surgeries that didn't know what to do previously, and now they know where their line of support is. So that's been brilliant. And we've got the employability program, which is our volunteer program. So once clients have been through the journey of support with us, sometimes they want to give back. So we have women that have come to us for volunteer roles that have been on the journey of support with us. We also have volunteers that have joined us for other reasons, whether it be they want to give back to the community, they want to learn new skills, it can be various other reasons. And the employability program helps them with that. So our volunteers, we will offer training programs for those, which are some of our other organisations that we work with are kind enough to give us some training opportunities. We do some in-house training as well with employability. We've also got some skills they can learn with Sharewear, which I'll come on to, which is sorting, picking, packing, which helps on CVs. And it's just another stepping stone. So they don't have to leave sort of journey of support. They've still got that network there as well. One of the other things that isn't mentioned on there, but I will mention, is Project Hope, which is our letter writing to women in prison. So based in Medway, where I am, which is also home of Sharewear, we've got, we write to 4 prisons around the country, and this is to women in prison. What we do know statistically is 63% of women in prison have experienced domestic abuse. May not be the reason they're there. However, it may also be the reason they're there as well. And it could be they've been coerced into something, or they get to breaking point and they commit an illegal act. For whatever reason that they are there, though, we know during COVID times what it felt like being isolated from our friends and family. And shortly after COVID, we started up Project Hope, and some of the prisons that we were actually writing to, even though we came out of COVID and we were allowed to see our friends and family, a year or so after, up until 2 years ago, some of those prisons were still in lockdown 23 hours a day and not able to see anybody. So it was a fantastic way of communicating, getting volunteers involved. And it's just little hopes of notes of hope and inspiration, motivational quotes, sometimes drawings volunteers will do. And the volunteers, the only commitment we ask for those volunteers is a minimum of 5 cards or letters each month. So we're always looking out for donations of cards that people don't want that we can use for that service as well. So that's a little bit about some of the services that we offer. As I say, there's a few on there, but I will come on to Kent and Medway Sharewear, which is the main reason that I'm actually on here today. So Kent and Medway Sharewear, it's the SATEDA project, and it's part of the community Sharewear franchise called Sharewear clothing scheme.org. Now, this was an organisation that started in Nottingham over 10 years ago. It was tried and tested. We thought their business model would match the ladies that are fleeing communities. We have lots of women that we support that we know need clothing, and we wanted something that would help in that way. So the aim is to provide free of charge clothing to women and children in economic difficulty. We use that during combination of a referral system for individuals and an outreach service for organisations. And we also include open days as well, where people can come in without referral, as we find that removes a barrier as well. So it's part of the employability programme where women and survivors of domestic abuse can volunteer to enhance their skills and work on their self-esteem, their confidence. The employability programme is open to other volunteers as well who just want to give back to the community, as I mentioned. Now, the initial phase of this project was to receive donations. And for any of you that have donated, I'd like to say a huge thank you, because everybody has been so generous. We've got some wonderful women's and children's clothing that has been donated and has been handed back out again. And we've got a nice stock of women's clothing. The children's clothing seems to come in the door and out the door straight away. So that is one of the things at the end that I'll be doing a call out for. But what we do ask is for donations of women's and children's clothing, toiletries as well. But it's mainly pre-loved. So anything that's either new that you've bought that you don't want, or pre-loved items, clothing. We only use clothes that are in high quality. So basically, it's the quality rule is deciding whether to donate is if you wouldn't wear it yourself, or wouldn't want to see a member of your family in it, then please don't donate it to us. We can only accept brand new knickers, pants, socks, underwear in general, and tights, and extremely lightly worn bras as well. Similar to swimming costumes, if they've got the lining in there to say they've not been worn, then we can use those. But other than that, we wouldn't be able to accept them purely for hygiene reasons. So the idea for me being on this call is to let you know how people can donate to it, how they can access this project, just in case, because I don't know all of your backgrounds. You might have clients that you might think, well, actually, I know some people that might want to use it or might want to donate to it. So how they access the project, it's self-access referral, and that's in the Medway office. So our office is based in Fort Luton in Chatham, which the address will come up shortly. Whichever agency or organisation, there's a referral form that we'd ask them to complete, and I've got a sample of it on the screen here, which at the end of this session, I think Mark will probably be sending out this, or it'll be available to anybody that wants it, as well as our referral forms as well. So once a referral form has been completed and it's emailed to us, we ask you to make sure that your client knows the address where we are in our opening times. There's no need to book an appointment. Once the referral's made, it goes onto our Excel spreadsheet, and they can just pop in on our open days anytime that's convenient for them. while we're open, and then they can browse clothing. They can help themselves. The one thing we do ask is we ask that children under the age of 11 are not permitted. It is an old Victorian fort. It looks like a exciting playground for anyone under a certain age or over a certain age, to be fair. So for health and safety and restrictions, any children in buggies are fine, but we just can't have them running around. It is like a warehouse here with clothing, and there's lots of tubs of clothing that we bring out to the mums or the women just to help themselves. So we don't want to bonk little heads on there. If a client has attended our office in the past, she'll be recorded on the system. She doesn't need a brand new referral. So basically, we've got a record of her, and it's very basic information that we would ask for, which I'll show you in a moment. Other than that, we just want to update what items she needs. Now, we want to make sure it's fair for everybody. So we did put this little rule in fact, that so that everyone has an equal chance to access it, and so there's no misuse of the service. Nobody's allowed to attend within 3 months of their last visit. So we'd ask you to take as much as you need when you come here for whatever you need for the next 3 months, this season pretty much. And then for yourself, if you're an adult, wait 3 months before you come back to us. The exception is for children. So if you, on medical reasons, have suddenly lost weight or gained weight, or if your children have grown in size, which one bit of sun and they grow outwards and upwards all the time. So you can come back as soon as the children outgrow things as well, if you want children's clothing. And as I say, we have women's and children's clothing. What I haven't mentioned is what we have here. So we've got a range of normally size 4 to size 40 women's clothing. We're running low on the size 4s at the moment, but we've got pretty much that whole range, which is most of the spectrum of people that need clothing. And for children's, we go from birth to 16 years old for boys' clothes. Now, boys 16 come in all shapes and sizes. So we have up to sort of medium men's that we cover for that size for 16-year-old boys, because as I say, they cover in all shapes and sizes. I think that's pretty much all on that one. So let me just move over. The other option we have is if somebody can't come to our base. So we have our base in Medway, which again, the next slide will show the address. I think it's the next one. We've got a click and collect service, which will be that you can submit an order on behalf of a client. And if they can't visit us, you can collect on their behalf. The only difference we would ask is, whereas somebody would come and pick their own clothing, we'd ask for a little bit more detail on the order form as to what you need. So what age group are they? What style do they want? If there's any preference on colours. What I have found since doing this is quite a lot of people have been in relationships where they've either not been allowed to wear a colour or been told they have to wear a colour. And therefore they want to break those mould. They want to experiment a little bit on their clothing. So they might be into leopard print or any animal print or stripes, dots, whatever they fancy. They might be short and tall. We don't know. So as much detail you can give us on there would help. So basically, in the event the client can't help, the support worker or whoever you're called will actually come on their behalf and collect the pre-ordered bag. We'll pick and pack it for you. But as I say, as much detail on there would be brilliant. We'd also arrange a date for you to come and collect it as well. There is also, I know it says click and collect in Medway office. We also have a hub in Kemsley, which is 66 Cold Harbour Lane. Again, the address will be on the next slide. We do a click and collect service there as well. In Medway, we also have an open day on the first and last Monday of each month, which is, we're open every Monday, but we're first and last Monday of each month. We also have open to people who aren't referred in, which means anybody can turn up. But it does need to be a woman. This is a safe environment for women to browse and try on clothing if they want to. We also have for organisations that maybe they don't have that many regular clients or anybody that they want to specifically invite to ourselves or refer into us, but they might have a warm space in the winter months, or there might be a school that want general clothing, not school clothing, but general clothing. Might be winter coats or something like that. We have the bulk outreach to organisations where in Swale or any other area they can pick up from us. In Medway, they can come to our base as well. So there can be different organisations there. And basically there's an order form that you can fill out to say that you would want a selection of clothing. So this could be a hospital that has got people with pyjama paralysis where they're not recovering because they're not being able to wear normal clothes. So they've been wearing pyjamas and therefore they're not recovering as quickly. So a hospital might want a selection of clothing so that they can have in stock in case anybody wants to get dressed or get organised. It could be homeless people that you want a selection of clothing. Again, we supply women and children's clothing and up to 16-year-old boys, so a certain selection there. It could be you've got a warm space where you're opening the doors in for a church and that you just want a selection of coats or something like that. Those sort of things we can do. We do have certain resources, but we have limited, so we can't take back leftovers. So if anything we provide to you, it would be up to yourselves what you do with it after that. But we can do it on a regular basis. So if there is anybody that would like regular items, we can look to try and get those arranged for you should you wish to. And there's an outreach form that we'll show you later. We also have in the Swale area, so because we're based in Medway and we've got hubs in Sittingbourne, Swale area is quite a rural area, and there's lots of little pockets of communities that we need support as well. So for those items, we have mobile sharewares. Now, we haven't ventured any further than that as yet. However, that may change in the years to come. We don't know. But on those particular occasions, no referral is needed. We turn up with a selection of women's and clothing, as I say, ranging from the ages I've told you, birth to 16, normally 4 to 6 to size 40 we've got here. So we have a selection that we will bring, and we link in with normally other organisations. So we're working with Swale One at the moment. We've attended every month to their events that they're having, where they'll have other organisations coming in, and we'll be there with clothing. In August, we're going to be in some children's centres around the Swale area as well. So people can come and get children's clothing, or they can make donations as well. And it's just a chance anyone can actually come to them, browse what we've got, help themselves to as much items they need. The only all of the service that we offer is free. The only thing we do ask is that it is for yourself or your family or somebody that you need. It's not to be sold on Vinted or eBay or anything like that. We're not providing a service so you can sell it. We're providing it for the women and children who need the clothing from us. But it can be for any reason. It doesn't have to be just domestic abuse. It could be lower income. It could be just switching from universal credit. It could be immigration status, anything like that. So I think that's, and again, we've got pre-orders. So if people on the mobile sharewares, if you know we're going to be turning up at an event and you think, I'm a specific size, can you pick and pack some items for you? We can pick and pack here at Medway, and we'll bring it over and have a bag with your name on it for you to just collect if you haven't got time to browse yourself. And that way you definitely know you're going to get some bits for yourself. Okay, so as I mentioned, the opening times, we've got a little QR code on there. That will take you straight to the Kent and Medway Sharewear website, which will have our latest opening times. It will have our mobile events that are happening, and it will have any other updates on opening as well. But these are our main sites. So Fort Luton in Chatham, which is Magpie Hall Road. That's where I'm actually based and where I'm speaking from today. We have donations and access days on Mondays 9 till 12 o'clock, so midday, and on Wednesdays from 1 till 4 o'clock. And then we have open days when no referral is needed on the first and last Monday of each month, which I just mentioned. And then we've got the Sittingbourne Hub, which has been kindly, it's a house next to a school in Sittingbourne, in Kemsley actually, and it is basically been donated to us once a week that we can use for this service through Southern Housing, which is absolutely fantastic. So I'd like to say thank you to Southern Housing for that. It's in 66 Cold Harbour Lane. And its donation access days, we're only open there one afternoon a week, and that's Tuesdays from 1:30 to 4 o'clock. So anybody can come on those days and either drop donations off, or on the first and last Tuesday of each month, we'll have a full selection of clothing. Other than that, we have a smaller selection because there's no storage facility for us there, so we have to bring it each time. And it's just if anybody does need anything. So we've got our email address at the bottom there, communityclothing@sateda.org, that people can put requests in. Or if you've got any queries, then you can certainly put a request in for those items. Now, the referral forms, these are some sample ones. I appreciate you're all watching from screens, and depending on what device you're watching from, if you're watching from a phone or something like that, this will look teeny tiny. But these are basically what the Sharewear referral forms are. At the top, it will have our address, my contact telephone number, email address on there. We ask that when you're sending the referral form that you put your organisation's name and just the word referral, so we know what it is and it takes priority over our other emails. We would ask for your name if you're referring anybody to us, whatever organisation you're from, contact number just in case I need to ask you anything about it. The only details we capture mainly from the client is the name and the address, and that's just to know what catchment area we're supporting. So we know which areas need more support, that need more clothing, and where we need to go to next as well. On the right-hand side, there is a little what's called nature of crisis, but it's a little tick box as to the reason they might be using the service. And as I say, it could be various reasons, or it could just be other, and you might just put on there what it is. If somebody happens to be through Southern Housing, we'd like to know that because they are supporting us and they like to know what clients are actually using it. We don't give them any names, we just say numbers, so that that's nothing to do with that. And then underneath we ask how many people we're clothing, what age they are, so we know if it's a boy age 5, 6. Now, this is a very basic template on here. If anybody out there has any children, you will know that their age doesn't always match their size. So you might have a 6-year-old boy that is actually wearing a size 8, 9. You might have a 6-year-old boy that's wearing 4, 5 because you might be smaller. So although we ask for the age there, if you can put what age they're wearing or what you need, that would be more appropriate for us. It does ask if there's any pronouns, if they prefer those as well. And then it just asks the type of clothing, whether it's smart clothing, whether it's interview clothing, any particular preference. Due to certain conditions, some people have items where they don't want to wear belts or buckles or anything like that. They prefer pull-up trousers, so there can be various things. Could be fabrics if you've got an allergy to fabrics. That all helps us. We don't want to just basically clothe people. We want to be able to give them something they're proud of wearing, which is why all the clothing we have, we ask it to be clean and in good condition when it's donated, because we literally give it straight out. We have no wash facilities here. The bits underneath there, it's just asking for your signature, and that there's a little declaration about data protection saying that you've confirmed with the client that they're happy to hold, we're happy to have on our database their name and address. And that is the only information. It's strictest confidential. We don't pass it on or share it to anybody else. There's no monetary value, and we just ask that they sort of, once they're referred in, that they sort of turn up within 2 months to access the clothes, or that you let us know when you want it picked and packed. Now, there's 2 referral forms on here, because one's based for the Medway, which will then have the Medway address when we're opening times at the bottom, and then the directions on how to get there. And then on the other side, it will have the Kemsley opening times and the Kemsley address on there as well, which is our main 2 hubs at the moment. Watch this space. We are looking for another hub in Sittingbourne, and we may be opening a new one shortly. So we'll let you know when that happens, because that will be absolutely fantastic. Hopefully there'll be more storage there. This looks quite scary, actually, and it's not meant to be in the slightest. This is the bulk outreach form, and this is just literally a tick box. So the first part would just have details if you've got 20 or more people that you want to order for. You can do it on a bulk form. It's just asking again for contact number, your name, email address, a particular delivery address if it's local, and then details as to what items you need. Ideally, if people can come and collect the items, that would make it brilliant. And we've just covered a mixture of items there just to give people ideas. So it could be T-shirts, the sizes of the clothing, and then there's a children's section as well. So it's just a tick box as to how many items you need, and you just say the quantity of each one. It doesn't go into styles on this particular one, it's just a generic form. Okay. So as of the 6th of March, I think it was this year, we celebrated our first anniversary, which was absolutely fantastic. So we've been now, it started off, there's been some photos along the way, started off with a 1 room and some racks that we had clothing on and lots of bags on tables. It's now come into, we've had funding last year from 2 wonderful private person, and also I think it was KCC gave us some funding with regards to getting some shelving units in, which we now have. So we've now got some shelving units with lots of different clothing on there. And the people that we've actually supported, as of June this year, we've saved over 5k going to landfill. So these are items that have been donated to us that we've been able to reuse. We've supported 1,029 women and children in accessing the services, and this is both for people that are coming in here at our mobile events and other referrals that we've got. And then we've actually had 31 mobile events so far, and that's going to increase a lot over the next 2 months as well, because we've got quite a few coming in August. Nearly every week I'll be out at an event, some 2 in 1 day as well. So watch this space for where we're actually going to be. Some of the comments from people can't believe that it's free, for one thing, and the feedback is it's been a great idea. They don't know what they would do without it. Normally people are going to either eBay or charity shops, and we've had comments that charity shop prices have also gone up, so it's really helping with the cost of living. And yes, some people are being able to get full clothes for the next range that she needs. So when she's growing into it in the summer holidays, they're ready for it as well. So it really has supported a lot of people in that side of things. That's only the tip of the iceberg on the comments. There's been so many wonderful things that have been said by various people, which is lovely. Okay. Now I do have a little video later on to watch as well, but what we need from yourself. So one of the things we do have is, as I say, we want clean clothes that are in good condition. Some of the clothes that come in aren't suitable for sharewear. We have, as we bought the franchise, we have a certain criteria that we have to hold, and that would then go to a textile. Now, what we have been doing is we've got volunteers that are trying to get inventive as to turning it into something else. So the clothes that isn't suitable to give out to other people, we will either cut it up and turn it into things like hair scrunchies, aprons. We had little placemats. There was lots of other little things. Tote bags is another one. And we're always looking for crafters. So even though that's not mentioned on there, we are looking for crafters that might be able to inspire and help us with some ideas on that side of things. You don't have to register as a volunteer for that. You can just get in touch at myself, which is the communityclothing@sateda.org email address. But yeah, we're always inspired by people because we want to try and use as much of the clothing that we get in as much as we can. Most of it is given out, but there's some that isn't. And so we want to try and have any new ideas. So what we're also looking for as well is any boys' clothing and shoes aged 5 to 16, because they seem to get through a lot. We get loads of girls' clothing come in, but the boys does come in and out straight away. Trainers, we've had quite a few requests recently for trainers. I think it's because they're all going back to school shortly and they're all looking for those. So trainers are always all ages and sizes. And then although we've got a huge amount of clothing for most sizes, these ones we're running a little bit low on, and that is women's size 4 clothing. And then we've got plus size clothing, size 24 and 26. So those are things that we're looking for donations for. If anybody is having a clear out and specifically has any of those things, then we would be grateful to receive them at the locations that I've mentioned previously. We're also looking for volunteers. So if you want to get in volunteering and you're in the Swale base or Sheerness or even in Medway, any of those areas, quite a few of you are going to be further afield. If you want to get involved with Project Hope, you can write from anywhere. You don't need to be based locally for that one. So if you are interested in volunteering, you can either go onto our website, SATEDA.org, or you can find us on social media as well. And I've put down the bottom there the different social media platforms that we're on for both of the SATEDA charity itself and also Kent Medway Sharewear. Okay. Now I can't see if there's any comments coming up from anybody, so everybody has been very quiet. And that's very nice. Thank you for listening. If you can help, what we do need from a Swale base. So yes, we're looking for donations. If you have any venues that you think that would be useful for a shareware base in your area, let us know. We can see what we've got. So we were looking for a Swale base one. If there's any others that we can get, then we're on the lookout. As we grow, we'll be looking at those. It won't be straight away, but we're always interested. If they happen to be free, even better. The ideal space we're looking for is somewhere where people can go, donate, we can sort the clothing there, and also people can browse it. And some of these photos are what it originally looked at. It looks a little bit more organised here with shelving units now. Now there's a little video we're going to use. I don't think this will click onto it, but I'm going to try. If it doesn't, I've got it saved. So let's see. Is that better?
Clothing poverty is not having enough money to buy the clothes that you need. Not only the clothes that you want, but literally the clothes that you need. It can be the difference between somebody being able to get a particular job or any job. It can be the difference between somebody being able to leave the house and not. It can be children not being able to play outside because they've not got a coat. It can be families unable to go out together because either their children are sharing coats or they've not got their own clothing. It permeates every area of your life if you've not got appropriate clothing. If you've only got clothing that's appropriate to stay in the house, you can't go anywhere or do anything, and it really limits people's lives and opportunities that they can do.
It's the knock-on effect for me that causes clothing poverty. You're only just about managing to pay your rent to the council, and all the rest of it. And then you've got to think about putting food on the table. Clothing is the last thing that you think about. So for me, that's clothing poverty.
Clothing poverty can affect all members of the family, from the newborn baby who's arrived with nothing, up to the adults of the family. So we aim to provide the items to cover all of those scenarios and support people from newborn up to 90.
Across the UK, 14 million people living in poverty, and we know that these people are accessing food banks. We know that this poverty exists, but clothing poverty is almost the hidden aspect. We don't have nationwide facts and figures to tell us this data. We don't have it. They don't exist.
One of the reasons why people don't disclose clothing poverty, we feel, is because of the stigma involved in that, and it's actually kind of exposing yourself to reveal that need to others. So it seems to have become okay to talk about not having food on the table and not being able to feed your children, incredibly, in 21st century UK. And it just seems to have entered the common psyche of the country, but clothing need hasn't entered the common psyche.
A lot of the shops now, a lot of them aren't existing anymore. One is going, then another's going. So, and it's leaving all the expensive shops behind, which you can't afford. I mean, sometimes they're £50 up to £70 for an item. So how can you afford that?
I'm a mental health nurse. I trained in England. I'm a refugee. I was an asylum seeker. And I was a refused asylum seeker for about 10 years. And I live in Nottingham. As a refused asylum seeker, I was only eligible for Section 95, which is just the basic £35 a week in the form of a voucher that I could buy my essentials. So I had no access to cash whatsoever for 5 years.
Well, before Christmas, in December, I had a couple of operations. I was about 11 stone then. I was on the jugs and that. Well, I've come off the jugs. I put about, well, 16 stone there. So I put 5 stone on. I'm running out of clothes.
So I've sent a photo.
PJ paralysis was recognised a few years ago that there was potentially harmful effects of patients wearing hospital gowns, that it extended their bed rest, potentially extended their length of stay and worsened their clinical outcomes. I think for patients themselves, derobing from that sick role is really powerful. Support their feelings of self-worth and self-esteem. It really does have a powerful effect on their mindset, their mental, emotional well-being. So with this, our key performance indicators locally are that our patients are dressed. It definitely supports early recovery. It reduces, I guess, the imbalance of power. As soon as somebody becomes dressed, they feel more healthy. They feel more able to contribute and collaborate to goal setting. It's a self-expression of their own personality and identity.
Something changing in their life, but they need the right clothes to start that new chapter. And doing what we do is great because it would normalize helping, or being helped, or asking for help. Everybody's, let's say, anything could happen in anybody's life, and anybody could need help. So why not giving help? There's really, literally no reason I can think of for not giving help to somebody who's in need.
Because I get some nice jeans and nice clothes. It make my day really better, you know, because I didn't know that. I was not expecting, but I just surprised. You know what I mean? You're doing a good job, you know, for like we don't have a clothes, then we come here, we choose for free. That is it's amazing. Good job, yeah.
Life costs. And you know, let's be honest, everybody would like something different, wouldn't they, to wear? And so we need these groups, we need these structures, and they need as much support as possible. Because if they do disappear, there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be struggling even more, you know, because it's already a struggle with regards to, you know, bills, the everyday things that you do need.
The thousands of people that we've clothed this year alone would otherwise have gone unclothed. We know that there are lots of people struggling economically in these areas. And we're not just for crisis clothing, we're for people on low incomes, we're for those people struggling to just go out and clothe their family. Because it's so expensive. If you've got a couple of kids, it's so expensive to clothe your entire family. So we want people now to know, now we are here, that we're here and about the work that we're doing.
It's still kind of assumed by the general public that everyone has access to clothes, and clothes are an easy thing to come by, which is not true at all. And I think we need to get to a place where clothes are not just things that people put on, but it's things that people are comfortable in and make them feel good. And just to say that they've got clothes is not enough anymore. And it's not just about the clothes. It's being able to come and choose clothes. You know, look for clothes, look in a mirror and compare what looks best, rather than just accepting whatever's in a black bag that's given to you.
From one side, we've got people who can't afford clothes. From the other side, we've got a market that just produces so many clothes every season that people don't really give value to.
You know that clothing poverty exists, but you don't realise to what extent.
So I work with victims of human trafficking and modern-day slavery. They can be from European Union, and of course I support British clients as well. Sharewear is responsive. Sharewear is fast. Sharewear is well organized and easy to reach, to be able to support clients on highest level.
Oh, they're nice, aren't they? Yeah. What size is it?
We work with clients who are in the NRM, which means they have either been trafficked or they've been involved in modern slavery, and that can be refugees, it can be asylum seekers, or it can be UK citizens. And we work to essentially empower them, to give them independence, to help them move from victim to survivor. And Sharewear are a massive help with that, because they give them clothing, they allow them to have an identity, feel safe. You know, we take clothing for granted because it's always there, or we can buy it. Whereas people who have no money or just aren't confident to leave the house yet because of what they've experienced, actually, if they can have options to, you know, wear different clothes depending on what they feel like, that can really make someone's day.
Yeah, and that's why we often put them in the deliveries.
A place like Sharewear comes into play because, first, providing them with clothing, because some of them are so destitute they don't even have clothes by the time you meet them. So being able to have clothing as soon as possible and for free, and it's of good quality, and also as they're trying to find themselves, being able to still rely on the same supply to take key steps in your life. Because aside from that, aside from victims of domestic violence, we also deal with victims of people who've gone through county line type of exploitation, exposing them to that kind of kindness where you would be able to have what you need, and it's just without expecting anything in return from you. So that has been very integral in trying to get our clients' confidence back and help them grow their self-esteem and, you know, go out there and do great things. Being able to have clothing that's suitable to the weather also gives you some kind of safety. Yes, so Sharewear, I mean, they've been integral in helping us make sure that we provide what our clients need.
First point of contact that we might have with somebody in prison is actually, especially we've seen in the last year, is women writing to us asking for clothing, because often women go into prison and that's all that they have, the clothes on their back, and it can be a good few weeks and months that they only have that, and sometimes struggle to get what they need when they're in prison. I know that my colleague, she also did a referral for somebody, and they particularly wanted something with Mickey Mouse, and so Sharewear was able to source that for them, and that was a real blessing to that lady. And people can often get into a predicament where they're suddenly homeless, or they're street homeless, or they've been sofa surfing, and all of their clothes get left in certain places, and it's difficult to get those things back. Or another thing is that often people fluctuate in size when they come in and out of prison. Obviously, you are able to get your 3 meals a day in prison, and people do put on weight. So then to be able to, you know, serve them in that way, to be able to provide something that is adequate for them in that situation. So it is very much, we respond to the need that someone's in.
We empower people basically to achieve better, brighter futures. Framework are very fortunate to be a partner of Sharewear's. We receive clothing to all of our services across the board. The fact that it's not just necessarily homeless people. It's everybody that it affects from all kind of walks of life. And at Framework, we can see that because we support so many different kinds of people with short-term needs, longer-term needs, people who have been rough sleeping, people who are out of work, people who have health-based, problems that we can support. And all of those people benefit from clothing because many of those people are living in clothing poverty. And that's a sad and damning fact of 21st century Britain.
I had a client of mine who had been working all his life, contributed with his taxes and everything. And unfortunately, he was working in factory work with agency work. So he stopped working. He thought he would have another job. He stopped working. He lost his house. He ended up in the streets. He was in the streets for 3.5 years. And he was on methadone. It was very difficult. I managed to house him. But one of the problems he had was he didn't have clothes. He only had a pair of trousers and 2 tops, and it was the middle of winter. And so I was able to help bring him here and have lots of different clothes. He took clothes, I helped him and everything. He was a different person afterwards. And he was ready to start doing volunteer work. He was ready to work. He was able to rebuild his life. And now he is clean and he is a support worker. So he is giving back to the community what he was able to receive before. And that's one of the most amazing stories I have had.
If I want a coat, I can come and get one, and they're cheap. They're free, so they are cheap. They can't get no cheaper, but that's the way life is, You'd struggle if you didn't have one of these places.
I think that's it. So I'm going to stop sharing there because I think that's the end of the presentation side of things as well. I think you said there's a few questions as well. Is that right?
Yeah, we've got a few comments in the chat here. Gemma's asked about the programs you mentioned at the start. Are they area specific or do they cover all of Kent?
So the programs themselves, they are based in Swale. So that's Sittingbourne, Sheerness. That's where those Freedom, Power to Change and Oh My Life are. There are some ladies that are referred in from other areas, but they are normally from like the Medway and the outer towns, I was going to say, rather than any further afield. So it depends on where you're based from. If you're based down in Thanet, there are other organisations, domestic abuse charities that will possibly offer those things as well. The Freedom Programme can also be done online. It is a national programme, but that is paid for. So I think it's something like £15 and anybody can actually do it. But it's an online session that's run by the Freedom Programme. So it's a national one. We just run the face-to-face and we do our own Zoom ones as well. And yes, it is regional. So it is only for our local area. It's what we're basically funded to do. So if we get funding for more, we can spread out, but we don't want to tread on toes of other charities that are doing the same thing in their areas. Hope that answers that question.
Chelsea from Southern Waters popped a note in about is there any support for people with sort of financial support and debt write-off?
So there are some, depending on the background of it. If there is some domestic abuse, then I know we do support some charities. If there has been economic abuse going on, there are banks that will actually help with that. They have dedicated teams for domestic abuse. So if it's in that side of things, then they can help with it. But there are other organisations that do Step, I think it's called, is one of them. The other organisations that do the debt recovery side of things. But banks we do have affiliations with. So we have certain ones that are in linking up with other charities. So like Lloyds or Barclays will have domestic abuse sections in there. The person that you phone up for your bank balance won't actually know about it, but if you ask for the domestic abuse side, they will put you in there. And if there has been economic abuse, they can certainly support you in that area.
Okay, thank you. So Vicky's put a couple of comments in the Q&A. Do you offer support sessions for women who've left their partners? And also, do you need blankets?
Oh, bless, thank you. In winter months, we don't actually not blanket. We mainly deal with clothing. However, there will be charities that will be near us. So we work with other charities. So there's a few homeless charities near us that we would pass on certain things to. There are school uniforms are another one where we get loads of school uniforms being donated. We don't have the space for it. There is so many schools just purely in Medway alone, let alone in Swale side. So there are other charities that will deal with those specific things. So if any do come in, we pass them out. We don't normally put an advert out for accepting blankets. So thank you very much indeed for the kind offer. But no, if you check out homeless organisations, they would definitely be looking out for blankets. I think they'll probably be stockpiling now, ready for the winter months as well. So yeah.
Do you offer placements for counselling students?
We did used to. We've actually stopped doing that now. We've changed our counselling programme. So if you were on level 4 and you were doing your 100 hours, then we would have a student programme. And sadly, that stopped. So not at the moment, no. However, there are other organisations out that do that. So you can still get experience in that side of things. We've just backed off from the student side. I think the nature of the counselling that was required from the people that were needing our services was a little more advanced than students could cope with. So we wanted to make sure we've got the experience that can support them in the right way. But there are other charities that will offer a different as a stepping stone for it. So good luck on your journey for that counselling.
Okay, that was a question from Louise, but we've got a different Louise who's put another comment in saying, do you do clothing for men who've experienced domestic abuse?
No, we are basically, the answer generally is no, we don't, unless they're 16-year-olds, but that's not the case. Because we are a women's charity, we're one of what's called a VORG charity. We're dedicated to support women and children. We totally understand that the men are affected by domestic abuse, and there are charities out there that will support domestic abuse for men as well. Dad's, Oasis are two, I think Clarion's another one. They're local charities that will do that. We're the only one that does the clothing side, and we specifically tailor for women's clothing. There are other organisations. There is, depending on your location, down in Herne Bay, there's Magdalena's got a community cafe that gives away free clothing as well. So that's in further down the south of England as well. And it doesn't have to be for domestic abuse. If anybody needs clothing, I think they do male and female down there as well. And there are a few homeless societies that will provide things as well. But my apologies, there's only so much we can store as well. So we're sticking to the ladies so we can support them. But thank you. I'm sure there are other charities out there.
Okay. Vicky's put a question in the chat. Could you just clarify if you provide support for women who have not left their partners yet?
Absolutely, yes. You don't have to have left the partner. We would be able to support you. It just depends on your journey. And some of the training sessions we do, if it's on Zoom, we need to make sure that you're alone in that house, that the perpetrator isn't behind you coercing you into attend this so that they learn the tactics or things like that. So it's really to support you. We don't judge. You don't have to go to the police. But if you need advice on basically getting out of a relationship, if you're in our area, we can support you. If you're not, you can still go onto our website. We've got a web chat on there on our SATEDA homepage. We've got a telephone number. You can always contact us or drop in. There's a where to find us on there as well. So you can drop in at one of the one-stop shops if you do need to seek guidance, and they can talk about safety planning of how to get, not necessarily how to get out of your relationship, but basically do it in the safest way. Anyone who's going through domestic abuse, they know the perpetrator much more than we do. So we're very much guided by the client and what their needs are. They will know if it's safe to do it. And it can be one of the most dangerous times is when they're leaving the relationship. That's when the perpetrator tries to tighten the control. And that's when the most homicides can happen and various other little things, which is horrible. So we want to make sure they're the most safe. But we do talk about safety planning, grab bags, code words with friends, changing routes and things like that. That's part of the initial talks that we have with anybody. So if they do want help, we can certainly guide them in that way.
Okay. Last couple of comments then. We've got one from Gemma saying that if you're in the Tunbridge area, Tunbridge Baptist Church has a clothes to go scheme. But Heather in Maidstone has asked, is there anywhere in Maidstone that you're aware of that can help clothing?
The clothing side of things, no, but where we are based is quite close to Maidstone. So at the moment, I'm not aware of any organisation down there. We've just moved our support to court into the Maidstone area. So who knows, if there's a venue down there that is suitable, we may broaden into that area. We've only just sort of going into the Sittingbourne to make sure we've got a base there. and then we'll just see how resources do as to where we can be based and where we can support the most. What we don't want to do is overstretch ourselves. We want to make sure we can offer the best service possible. So we are still only a year into it. Sharewear looked massive with the van. I can't wait to get a van whenever we do, but it's going to be probably a few more years before that happens and funding. But we know the need is out there, and Maidstone does need help as well. So if we can, if you do need anything in the meantime, do link in with us, and you can pick up from Chatham, which is quite close with near the top end, a little bit close to Maidstone.
Okay, thank you for that. And that is all the questions and comments I think we've had in the chat and the Q&A. We are about a minute over, but if anyone's got any questions or wants to sort of shout out on the microphone or put your hand up, please do. If not, then I guess that means everyone is happy, and in which case, or some thank yous now coming through. So in that case then, yeah, thank you to Valerie for this afternoon's session. Thank you everyone for joining. Resources will be sent out after the meeting. I'll get those out on an email later, and the recording will also be uploaded onto our YouTube channel as well, so people can re-watch. And just to remind you that obviously, as well as the evaluation form as well will come through, and yeah, please do use ReferKent to refer through to SATEDA as well. They're one of our partners on there. So thank you everyone for this afternoon, and have a good rest of the day. Thank you.
Thanks, Mark. Much appreciated.